I just was going to comment, that's amazing that you didn't know this was a hazy. I feel like, you know Snape kills Dumbledore, right?
What? What's going on, beer lovers? Welcome to another episode. I'm Jeff.
And I'm Jacob.
And today we are doing a very special beer review. We are reviewing a beer from Alchemist. This is called Heady Topper. This is an 8% India Pale Ale, and it's not just any IPA, Jacob. This is one of the most sought after beers in the country. Just recently, Alchemist released a ton of these guys, kind of sprinkled all throughout Southern California. Everyone was rushing to get their hands on it. It seemed like every time a bottle shop or a brewery announced that they got some in, within 10 or 15 minutes, they were all gone. I got very lucky. My friend Vanessa at Mission Bar in downtown Santa Ana,
Nice.
She held on to a couple of these bad boys for me. She knew how bad I wanted to review it, so thank you, Vanessa. And by the way, if you guys live in Orange County area, you gotta check out Mission Bar. They have some amazing craft beers on tap, pool tables. It's a ton of fun, and now they have canned beer to go. So, pretty awesome. Anywho, Jacob, what do you know about this beer?
So I've actually had this before.
Of course you have. Unfair.
I won't say anything about it, any of my opinions. I want to let you try it first, untainted. So let's just get into it.
All right, man.
Yeah.
Let's have some beer. All right, guys. So the beer's poured. Jacob pointed out the fact that it does tell us drink straight from the can, but Jacob has cooties, so I'm not going to. Regardless, I will tell you, and I'm sure you feel the same way, as soon as I poured this, you smell those hop characteristics blasting from the glass. Yeah, what the heck is that?
Oh, don't worry, you'll get used to that.
One thing that really surprises me is I didn't know that this was going to be a hazy beer, to be honest with you. I avoided all spoilers. Every time I hear about this beer, I didn't pay attention to what it actually looked like, so this is kind of cool. Jacob, do you want to talk about that a little bit, like what you were explaining to me earlier?
I just was going to comment, that's amazing that you didn't know this was a hazy. I feel like, you know Snape kills Dumbledore, right?
What?
We got a lot to learn today.
Wow.
I thought that was like the one spoiler that just everybody knows. Like, Heady Topper is one of the OG Haze beers. Before there were Haze Bros to Haze.
I had no idea.
Heady Topper.
I had no idea.
Yeah, this is like the granddaddy almost. Like, I don't even want to call it dad at this point. There's been so many further iterations of what a hazy IPA can be that I feel like at this point it's now a granddad, I think.
So before Treehouse, before Monkish, there was Alchemist Heady Topper.
And I gotta say, I forgot just how pretty it looks. It's kind of nice to look at, except for there's some like probably
little particulates in there.
Junkies floating around.
I'm okay with that.
That being said, I've definitely had one with way more than that in it.
Yeah. I love the head on this, man. I can swirl this around and you just get a nice, big, fat, soapy head.
Yeah, it's bright white too, and that just makes the rest of the color of the beer look that much better.
Yeah, just beautiful contrast. Yeah. When it comes to aroma, this thing, I mean, you're getting all the fresh, beautiful hop flavors out of it. A little bit of citrus, a little bit of lemon peel. There's some earthy characteristics to it too.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, this isn't too much of that like tropical.
Yeah, it's not
grapefruity kind of papaya thing going on. This is definitely a little more of that citrusy, traditional goodness that I associate with like new age IPAs that aren't the crazy bitter West Coast. They're a little bit more of that, let's get some more of the aroma action from the hops and not just bitterness.
I am all about this aroma though.
Yeah, I mean, let's drink it though.
Yeah. Enough talking. Oh, wow. Whoa. Wow. That is a super complex hoppy body. Man, you were getting that citrus, but you were getting this bitterness, and it feels like just a wave that surrounds you. Like, I can feel my tongue just get coated by this beer with, like, hop bitterness, and it is on there. Wow. Holy crap.
Yeah, this was something that people used to always compare to Pliny. Back in the days when Pliny was, like, the IPA, this guy came out, and so all the East Coast people were like, wait a second, I think we've got a Pliny killer. Except, of course, Pliny is usually more readily available than this. That being said, that might be not the case anymore, considering this is California and we were able to buy a can of it. So, yeah, times are changing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I will tell you, this isn't a life-changing beer for me. It's really good. It's really good. Especially if I want to reach for a bitter yet smooth drinking beer, this is it. Super drinkable, but holy shit, man. Just sitting here, I can just feel the bitterness all over in my mouth. Like, it is staying there. This is, in my opinion, this probably isn't a starter beer. This is a finisher beer, or you better hope that somehow you miraculously have several cans of this. Because it's strong, but that aside, it's not overwhelming because the body is so soft, and the malts play really well with this too. It's nice medium body with the malts, and the mouthfeel is super smooth too. It's just, as soon as you get comfortable with it, those hops just go, hey, what up? We're an IPA, so what's up?
Alright, so now that you kind of have your impression out, I can now step back and kind of give you what I remember it being when I first had it. And when I first had it, I hadn't had anything from Treehouse. Now, since then, we've both had Treehouse. Yeah. We've also both had lots of Trillium. I had this right around the first time I ever tried Trillium, so it was like they were both kind of hand in hand. Wow. My idea of those big East Coast hazy IPAs was very new. I want to say Monkish either had just started or had yet to start doing their IPAs. So a lot of the beer that is out now I had not tried and had not had my kind of perceptions altered yet. I do remember being a little underwhelmed. That being said, I feel like this is probably not super fresh. I don't remember it being quite as bitter. It was definitely a much more bitter than I was expecting it to be. So yeah. That is not changed. That is the same. I ended up liking the other of their two big IPAs.
Focal Banger.
That ended up being hands down my favorite. That being said, the cans that I got definitely had a whole bunch of hop floaties in it. But it still was my favorite over this one, regardless of its questionable appearance. And you know what? I kind of feel the same drinking this. It's still just great body. It's a nice bitterness that to me doesn't overwhelm me. And in fact, I feel like it's making me salivate and kind of drying out my mouth to where I'm like, oh, better take another sip.
Yep.
Which I feel like is one of your best phrases you've had when you've described beers like that. It's just, oh, I've got to keep drinking this. That's this beer for me right now.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. The bitterness is quite a bit, but it's good. This really, to me, just kind of fuses the idea of an East Coast hazy IPA with the standard West Coast IPA. You know, it's in a hazy form, but that bitterness, that dankness, just that potency on your palate reminds me of the West Coast flair. So, I mean, this may not be the hazy for everyone. This would not be an introductory hazy beer at all.
No.
And it wouldn't be an introductory
Unless-
West Coast beer either.
I was gonna say, unless you come from loving bitter West Coast beers and you want to kind of make that transition, this is probably a nice way to
Yeah.
shift your palate to like, oh, the body can be like this. The hop aromas can kind of be more like this instead of, you know, West Coast old school.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, if I was giving a hazy beer to a newbie, this would not be my first at all.
Probably not.
Unless they had experience with like West Coast beers and they're like, oh yeah, I love West Coast beers, super dank and super just potent, bitter. I love that stuff. All I hear about these hazies is they're super soft and pillowy and fruit juice. I don't like that.
give me some ruination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then you just give them this and yeah, bomb. Anywho, let's get into scoring because we've talked a lot about it. When it comes to aroma, I'm going to go ahead and give it a 6. I was not huge on the aroma. It's there, it smells good. You're getting a lot of the characteristics, but with a beer that has this much hype behind it, when I was pouring this, I was expecting just my sensory, I was expecting a sensory overload. I was expecting to get just super excited about it. You know, I was so hyped already. And it smells like a really good West Coast IPA, in my opinion. I just don't think it was everything that it cracked up to be. Maybe my expectations were way too high, but...
That does happen.
Yeah, well, and I remember reviewing Treehouse or Trillium, and when I poured those beers, the hype was super high with those too, and they lived up to the hype. I mean, that aroma was just like, hell yes, this is what everyone was talking about. This one was like, smells really good. But this could be some other can that I have in my fridge, and I'd be equally excited. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 6. How about you?
I'm gonna go with 7, being a little nicer to it, simply because 1, I think it's not quite the freshest. 2, this beer in particular is kind of notorious for not having a great shelf life, so it's sort of crazy that we even got distribution out here. And 3, this is also from the East Coast IPA era that was competing with Pliny, not competing with Noble and now Monkish, you know. And when I said Noble, I actually meant West Coast Noble, not even thinking that, yeah, they also... They've also changed their tunes since then. Man, yeah, just so many things are changed. This is why I call it the kind of granddad hazy. Also, there's probably a lot of OG beer traders out there that this was one of the first things that they probably traded for, and now they see it at a store and they're just like, oh, along with KBS. Sorry, I'm just like making fun traders.
That's the voice you make too.
Yes, definitely. I don't know why you're all old. Anyways, but yeah, it's a different mindset, and I do have to appreciate them for not really changing this beer. Instead, they've just kind of opened up their portfolio. So I would love to actually go and visit Alchemist and try some of the ones that they don't really distribute at all. You know, I'm curious to see what they do with that, especially because they have a fancy new, brewery. I've seen photos and it looks gorgeous.
Well, Alchemist, if you want to have us, I'll be happy to fly 3,000 miles again to the other side of the country.
Again, yes.
Just saying. Okay, so you gave it a 7, right?
I gave it 7, yes.
Okay. So when it comes to flavor for me, I'm going to score it a lot nicer. The flavor was actually a pleasant and welcome surprise. I'm going to give it a 9. And the reason why I give it a 9 is I pour it, it looks like a hazy. Had no idea it was a hazy. So surprise there. Then I smell it, and the aroma is not as exciting as what the hype was. But then I drink it, and it also wasn't what I expected, but it was a far more welcome surprise. I'm not a huge hophead. I don't like bitterness that, just kills my palate. This definitely, I mean, it lingers with you for a really long time. But you can tell the love and care that went into this beer. You can tell why it's so popular. This is a staple. This is like an OG. Sometimes those older things that have so much like love behind it, it's not necessarily that it's the best. It's simply that it's, the foundation of what came after. And that's kind of what this reminds me of, is it is basically the beginning of where we are now. Just like some of the beers that are coming out now will be a foundation for what comes after. So for me, it really makes that statement, and it's well balanced. It tastes freaking delicious. And the hop bitterness, I mean, to be honest with you, if you're a hophead, this is your jam. And it also says, don't be a D-bag, recycle this can. And I was reading that while I was drinking this, so kind of made me laugh a little bit. But yeah, beer's bomb. I'm going to give it a 9. Jacob?
I think I have to agree. I have to give it a 9. It's a really solid beer. It's something that belongs up against Pliny, a beer which I've also grown to love the more and more I have it. Enjoy it even more. And this is something that, yeah, they should kind of be paired together. If you can have Pliny and Heady Topper at the same time, exact same time, I think you should.
That might be a future experiment, because I still got 1 bottle of Pliny left, and I got 1 more can of Heady left, so...
Oh, didn't even realize that.
Boom.
No, but like they definitely are kind of cut from the same
cloth.
Not quite, but I mean they're maybe 2 sides of the same coin. Is a better metaphor for that.
They're like the founding fathers of the craft beer movement.
Family. They're really good. They're great examples of their style, and so if you have the opportunity to try them, try them.
Yeah, I gotta say it's really been an honor being able to try this. I've heard so much about it. I would definitely say it's not what I expected it to be, but at the same time it was a very welcome and pleasant surprise. So on that note, let's talk about whether or not we would ever buy this again. So you want to start?
Well, technically I was gifted them the first time, so I would love to actually buy it for the first time.
Man, Jacob always gets away with getting these good beers for free.
People either feel sorry for me, maybe? I don't know what it is, but people usually gift me really good beer, and I feel like I end up buying not as good beer. I don't know. I have weird memories.
Nah, you bring some good beers.
Maybe you're good. We'll see. But thank you for people who give me beer. I really appreciate it.
Me too. Okay, so yeah, I would definitely buy this again as well. Not only for the hype. I mean, I know if I happen to have a pallet of this sitting in my house, I know a lot of beer traders that would be hitting me up. So not only does it hold a lot of value in the craft beer community, but also it's just a really good overall beer.
It's just like Bitcoin.
Yeah. What? I think Jacob's drunk, maybe a little bit. But ultimately, for me, I gotta look at this beer and say, if I saw this on tap and it wasn't super hype ultra beer, Heady Topper, and it was just this beer called Heady Topper that I'd had before and it tastes how it tastes, I still would want to order it again. It's fantastic. I don't think I would order this to start my night. I don't think this is something that I would want to drink all day.
Go big or go home, man.
Yeah, just wreck that palate, man. Rip it right off. But I mean, all being said, it's a fantastic beer, and if I get lucky enough to get my hands on it again, I will definitely take advantage of the opportunity. And again, thank you, Vanessa, from Mission Bar.
Thank you.
I owe you big time. Big time. Yeah, so there you have it. That is our review of Heady Topper from Alchemist. And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you give us a thumbs up, share with your friends, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. If you've tried this beer before, I would love to know your thoughts. The hype is real. I see nothing but positive. I kind of feel like an asshole not giving it 10s. But hey, maybe someone else out there is on the same page as me. Let me know. Or if you think I'm just psycho and don't know how to taste or or review beer, you can talk shit too. Go ahead. I don't care. But I would love to hear your feedback on it. Other than that, Jacob and I are going to continue drinking some delicious beer. So until next time, we'll see you again on Let's Have Some Beer. Cheers.